I look at South Carolina and I see the great places in South Carolina, the places that really resonate with the public, and I say, what would South Carolina be if these places were lost? And whether you look at Stumphouse Tunnel or the Ashley River, or you look at Morris Island or Marsh Furniture Tracts, these are properties that the public has been on for years, and the assumption that these lands would be there forever was ingrained in South Carolinians. But the realization that many of these places are going to be lost because they aren't protected.
The history of Stumphouse Mountain and Issaquena Falls is basically the history of South Carolina, of this whole area. Well, from beginning to end, this whole effort lasted maybe 7 months or 8 months. We had just 5 months to raise the money. And in the end, we needed to raise $4.3 million. And the Conservation Bank stepped up to the plate immediately. Because it existed, it gave the City Council and the Mayor confidence that we would have a way to find the money for that. And the Conservation Bank voted unanimously to provide the funding, and then City Council voted unanimously to protect the watershed.
And it would not be the same for me coming up Highway 28 and to look over here to the right, approaching Issaquena and approaching Stumphouse, and see many houses across these ridges. That would be devastating to me, as well as many other people that are involved here and have lived here all their life.
We just took it for granted that this would never be gone. It'd always be here. People that come on generations and generations from now will get to enjoy this beautiful piece of property that the Lord made. And it would not have been so if a developer had acquired it and put a gated community here. It'd just be locked up forever.
At this particular time, with this one project, there were approximately 1,100 acres, again, that all joint, all family farms, that we were able to put together with the partnerships and protect 1,100 acres in this area.
When the lady from NRCS came to see me, she said, Mendel, I was on my dozer, and she said, Mendel, I got something here you might be interested in. And I said, Heather, I don't want to listen to it. I said, all these programs you have, it cost me money. I said, this busy, don't bother me, you know. She said, well, you need to listen to this. And she started talking. So I cut the dozer off and she started talking. And when she got through, I said, sign me up, just like that.
I first found out about it through NRCS, the local office here. And then I began to look throughout the country because my children live in different parts of the country. Well, a conservation easement to me was kind of like having your cake and eating it too, in that we were able to get compensated for the easement and still stay on this farm. And what was so attractive that this will stay a farm for a very long time now.
When you've got 25,000 acres that is bordered on one side by one of the most beautiful black rivers in South Carolina, by the famous Petey River watershed, on the other side with a tremendous amount of river frontage, a tremendous amount of riverine swamps, sand ridges, a myriad of different habitats. It's a real draw to people who are interested not only in the outdoors from the perspective of canoeing, kayaking, hunting, and fishing, but also people who want to see what this landscape was like 200 years ago, 300 years ago, particularly with regard to the Revolutionary War campaigns that took place here. When this property, of course, was coming up for sale, International Paper was divesting itself of a lot of its timber holdings. There was a situation where, unless the state stepped in or some other party stepped in and purchased it as a whole, the property would be broken up, and there would never be an opportunity to put all that back together and to put these sites together. So if somebody wants to appreciate Francis Marion, they're going to have to be able to come to a place like this to see what the lay of the land was quite literally in 1780 and 1781.
Well, Morris Island is an interesting property. It's of interest both historically and from a natural resource standpoint. And when you think of the history of Morris Island, you have to really look at the Civil War. It was from this point, from the sands of Morris Island and the northern end, Cummings Point, where the first shots of the Civil War were fired on the Star of the West as it steamed into Charleston Harbor. And then turning to the natural resource significance of the island, it is a refuge for nesting shorebirds, turtles, and a myriad of other species. So both the history and the natural resources are absolutely critical. We worked with a broad partnership here in Charleston, which include the National Park Service, the State DNR, the Coastal Conservation League, the City of Folly Beach, the City of Charleston, and I probably left out a number of them, but a number of concerned citizens. Everybody wanted to see Morris Island protected, and just has great significance, not only locally, but at the state level and also from a national perspective as well.
I think that the job the Conservation Bank does is basically unknown, but it needs to be wider known. People know everything that the Conservation Bank has done so far. I think there'd be widespread support for it throughout the state.
I really don't know that we would have found this type of funding anywhere else. There are possibly a few private places we could have gone to, but there are very few that deal directly in agriculture and in farming and in what we put together here.
I would just thank the legislature for having the vision and the wisdom to put this money in place, because without it we wouldn't be protecting places like Morris Island, and without Morris Island we truly lose a sense of who we are as South Carolinians, and you know, it would be a tragedy.
And this is such a critical time because once again these large blocks of land like this are coming on the market. If we can secure them now, they'll be protected for future generations. If we can't secure them now and say, oh, we'll do it down the road, it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more expensive.
The bank does such a broad amount of projects, and we do it in so many fundamentally different ways that people say, well, all you do is buy easements. No. All you do is save historic properties. No. All you do is say, you know, if I ran through a litany of projects and what it really means and what the bank's trying to do with these money, we want to save these iconic places. And these places that add to the richness of being South Carolina, the things that just define your community.